What would you say to the Bitcoin purists who argue that Bitcoin should only be used for money and that any arbitrary data or non-financial use, like naming, actually hurts its core monetary properties?
I can understand where they're coming from because I love Bitcoin and the money problem. I love that, and I wouldn't want anything to hurt that, definitely. But I guess what I would say to these people is the conclusion I came to, which is I think, the way that I think of it now is that the block space is the super valuable thing. It's this decentralized ledger, this decentralized database, and money was the first killer app for that, for using that space, and it's important. But I think there are other important things that could use that space that don't take away and in fact help the other things, help the money aspect, which is naming. So if we could anchor in naming into that block space, I don't think it takes anything away from the money aspect, and in fact it makes Bitcoin more secure because there's another use case. There's higher bidding for the space, so it makes the space more valuable, and which makes it more secure because the miners will have more incentive to mine on it. So I don't see how it takes anything away, and in fact I see how it just makes it more secure. That's what I would say to them.
I think that's a great position. I think it's great to hear you say that as kind of the founding project person, because a lot of people these days are going to come to it with that presumption. It's like, oh, this person, this idea came out of a total disregard for the money aspect of Bitcoin. That's just not the case. When I talk about this in our groups and stuff, I like to say, well, when you think about it, money is information. The Bitcoin ledger was designed to record ledger entries. It's called a ledger for a reason because it is a global, common, storage of entries of who has what. So the very nature of money is information. And if that doesn't kind of, convince them, I like to say, well, having being able to put extra attributes onto that money, is also very important. I have this use case in a wallet I'm developing around this, which is okay, I paid for something, but what was it that I paid for? Having even an identifier that I can refer back to a receipt and reconcile it against the list of things I sold for Bitcoin can be a very small piece of information. Think of it like a barcode or something that you scanned that associated the product that was purchased with the purchase itself. So that's non-monetary use, if you want to call it, but it kind of is. So if you can kind of make that case, then the next thing is well, other things, are as useful as well. It's maybe I want to send my, my nephew some money for birthday and say, put happy birthday, on the transaction, so that they can always look back at that as kind of like a concert ticket. I went to the concert, I spent it, I experienced it, but I have this ticket stub that kind of is a recollection of that transaction. So, these then kind of build up. Each use case is a little more extra. I don't necessarily need a picture of the ticket stub. That's getting to be a JPEG now, more data. And I think it's important also just to be considerate of the node runners that, the more we put on there, the more resources it takes. Now you can say, well, Moore's law in that, space and compute gets cheaper and transfer gets cheaper. But I still think these cases are all very valid, and these aren't like, blowing up the data set, the UXT, set, the data side of things. So, and like I said at the beginning, these recent statistics show that this is it seems to be kind of a nothing burger, but, with Core 30 having basically unlimited, very large limits, it doesn't necessarily mean that the new abuse can't occur. A new use case can't jump in and suddenly have huge data requirements. I mean, we saw the RUNES kind of wave that happened a couple of years ago and how it drove up, fees and stuff for about 2 months maybe. It was pretty expensive to do a transaction. So.
Yeah, and just also to point out, we really considered this in the design aspect. We really didn't want to bloat the blockchain, or we we wanted to be anchored into Bitcoin, but we didn't want to spam Bitcoin, and we designed it specifically in that way. So it leaves a really light footprint, and that's why the whole second layer, you can't just have a billion names on Bitcoin. So we designed it specifically for that,